Good afternoon, everyone. We are
Afternoon.
at our first milestone of the year, everyone.
Yep.
It is end of quarter one. What have you gotten done?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like,
that's
your parents send you up to your room to go clean your bedroom, right? And then all of a sudden, like, it's the top of the hour and they come walking up. You're like, ah, crap, I've just been reading this book this whole time.
yep.
So you quickly shove things into the closet, hope no one notices it.
I know. And this happens with so many things, and lots of times we're doing good stuff. I mean, we're
Yeah.
working hard, we're in things, but I remember this kind of season pretty often because I was working for a great MSP and we were doing a lot of really exciting stuff. And we were being very visionary, I guess, in some of our approaches. We wanted to grow the business. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
just taking care of the store. We had very aggressive goals to grow, and we knew we needed to do things. So we'd line some things out. We need to do this. We need to do this. But at least me personally, I didn't take the detailed steps and say I need to do this by week 2. I need to do this by week 5. And really hold that in there because there's just so much going on and you get distracted. There are other things that pop up that need your attention, and they're valid and they're valuable, but at the end of the day, so many times we pop up and we get to a milestone like this and we're like, man, I thought I would have more done at this point than and
Well,
it's life. But yeah, you gotta keep it in mind.
I think the big point is you at least need the checkpoint to remind you, are you getting things done? And once you get to that point of like, am I getting things done? And you have the realization, yes, I am on track, or no, I am not. At least you have that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you just kind of bumble along the year and you don't have any way of saying, am I meeting my goals? Am I on track?
Mhm.
And then you get to the end of the year, you're one checkpoint, and you think, crap, I didn't get anything I wanted done this year. I got one thing done. And I had this whole
Mhm.
video on cadence, right? It's on YouTube somewhere. So in our learning areas. But you get along and you have these checkpoints that say, are you doing well? Are you getting things done? It's time for you to review where you are and where you're going. And as Skip says, always look forward in your QBRs, never look back. So you're sitting there and you're looking at you're going forward. And I think in my video, I say, how often do you want to know things are going wrong? How quickly can you afford this?
Mhm.
So when you have
Mhm.
uptime monitors, do you want real time uptime? And do you want to be notified for every lost packet? Do you want to be notified for a minute of
Mhm.
downtime? Do you want to be notified if you've been down for longer than an hour? What tolerance do you have for when are things going wrong? And that's where you do your checkpoints. It's not about the quarterly business review, it's about a checkpoint.
Mhm.
Having a checkpoint at some point within your risk tolerance window of, are things going well? Are we aligned? Because when you set checkpoints, you'll see productivity happens right before the checkpoint, right? It looks
Yeah.
it looks like an EKG, people. It goes
Yeah.
checkpoint.
It does.
And so you look at your productivity of your employees, they're very good employees. They are very good at doing what they're doing. However, they're working on their own stuff, and
Mhm.
then they'll work on the stuff that you want them to. So they're working with clients, they're working in operations, they're patching systems, they're keeping this stuff up. And you're like, hey, we need to be going out and getting new clients. We need to be doing these things. And then they get to that Monday, they, oh crap, I have to talk to Alice on Monday about my
Mhm.
productivity this quarter, and they're going to get a whole bunch of things done. They're going to close out a whole bunch of tickets, and they're going to be ready. And so you see that
Yep.
productivity spikes right there. How often do you want that spike in productivity? If you make it too often, then they don't get their daily stuff done. They need
Right.
some
Gotta
freedom.
wear out.
But if you wait too long, then they're gonna walk in your door going, "Oh, I didn't get any of that done," and
Yeah.
you can't help them.
Right. And I think you have to, you know, recognize that again, whether it's you, your team, or just your your business in general, you are doing things, you are working on things, but sometimes we may work really hard and not get anything accomplished. And so, me personally, the last few weeks, I've been involved in this exciting little project out here in West Texas. And yesterday, I was looking around and it's like, all right, I've been working really hard for almost 2 weeks now, and I didn't feel like I'd gotten hardly anything done. But what I went through and just looked at all the things I had done and focused on a couple of them. I was like, all right, if I focus on these two, I'll be able to strike these projects off the list, get these done. And I think sometimes that really becomes a challenge in MSPs. I've seen that many times. We're working on so many things at the same time that nothing gets done, and we need to prioritize a few things. Whether it's the checkpoint like Adam was talking about, or internal objectives for your team, you're going to have to set a goal that says, "Hey, it's coming up. We've got to get all this done," and that will help focus this activity because there's always going to be stuff to do.
Yeah.
We're never going to find a spot where we're just sitting around going, I don't know, I'm really bored. Well, let's pick up an old project and see if we can occupy our time. That never happens. So you've
Yeah.
just to set the expectations.
And I really like the quarterly breakdown system because it's natural. We're following this and business follows it. Um, you kind of do it in your regular life. You don't even know it. It might even be that you're doing a school schedule, like, your kids are coming
Mhm.
up to summer, or you got midterms, or you got winter break. If you think about it, your year's already broken up into quarters. So these little points
Mhm.
in which you kind of like check, like, oh, I need to get my vacations planned out. Uh, so what do you do when you're behind? Like, you hit this checkpoint and you find out I'm behind. Where do I go from here? And you think, okay, why am I behind?
Mhm.
Review that and think, how can I change my behavior for the Q2 to make up for this, or to keep from getting behind in quarter two? Are my goals still viable given how far behind I am right now? Do I need to adjust the goals? So let's say you want to get 30 new clients this year. It's end of quarter one and you've gotten one new client. Do you
Mhm.
need to adjust the goal? It might be like, no, because we get most of our clients towards the end of the year. Okay, cool. Or maybe 30 new clients for an MSP. That's a lot.
Yeah.
For your size. You're finding out that, if you work really hard, you might get 20, or you might be way ahead on your goal. You might have already gotten 20 for the year. And then you got to think in the different terms, like, okay, do I have the capacity to continue to grow at this rate? So you may
Mhm.
have to change your goals to adapt to your success. And that's okay. The whole point of this review at the end of the quarter is to adapt to whatever happened in quarter one and change your quarter two so that you can either speed up, slow down, or adjust based upon what happened.
I think that's a really important element. So if you're here at the end of Q1, and whatever it is, most of the time we haven't got things done that we wanted to, right? Don't just sit there and say, all right, I'm gonna work harder on this in Q2. I think this is really important. I'm
Can't
gonna
just
I'm
say
gonna
I'm going to
focus.
work harder.
Yeah, that's a round to it. I don't know. I haven't seen them in a long time, but they used to make these little wooden coins called round to its, and you'd like pass them out or whatever. Okay, here's your round to it. When you get a round to it, you can go do something. Um, and you're never going to find those. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to decide. All right, what are you going to change? I've used this phrase before, and it's so impactful. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got.
I love that
So
saying.
it, I do too. And so if you're expecting Q2 to be different without making any changes from what you did in Q1, you're you're fooling yourself. So you're going to have to adjust what you do.
Yeah,
And
is there
that's business. That's
anybody got
not
any
that's
advice
not
out
you
there in
being
the
bad.
peanut
It's you
gallery?
being good.
I see a lot of people watching. I was just gonna see if anybody else had any advice on what are they doing at the end of this quarter. Like,
Oh
it was
yeah.
really important. Like in 20 when the pandemic hit, they completely shook up your goals. So a lot of people just panicked and set no goals. Some of us was like, I'm going to survive this. I'm going to get through this as you're watching your clients cease all spending. It was
Mm-hmm.
terrifying. Um, but you readjust your goals one step at a time, one move
Mm-hmm.
forward, and you just got into this day-to-day checkpoint. Where am I today? Where am I going to be tomorrow? How do I move forward? What programs can I take advantage of to stabilize my income? And so we kept moving forward. But if you had asked us in January, would we be reevaluating at this point? No, like we were looking at the
Yeah.
year like normal. And but because we did a checkpoint, oh crap, now I need to reevaluate. Everything's gone horrible. Let's what do you call it? Everything went pear-shaped. So
Yeah.
we can now say, where are we going? What are we doing? And you need to do that in your business when business is going well and when business is doing poorly. So, like for instance, I'm looking back at Q2 here for Humanize, and we've had a great first quarter. Just absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not only from a growth perspective, but from just our teams are just nailing it. We're
Yeah.
on board. We're growing we're hitting our KPIs where we need to adjust just a little bit. So a lot of that's because of our success. And so how are we going to do Q2? Well, Q2's on track. What do we need to change? Not much, but we should tweak these three things. And that's what we talk about in our leadership meetings. And I really want to point out to everybody that you can do that too. If you get realistic goals and you're achieving those goals and you got a couple stretches, now you've had success in Q1. What do?
Mm-hmm.
Augment what's going well, tweak other things, and make sure everybody stays focused.
Yeah.
And
And I think that idea of setting that expectation of, hey, we're going to make changes. I think that's a really positive approach to take, because you know that regardless if things have gone really well or if they haven't gone so well, you need to adapt to those. And I think realistically speaking, no one no one's going to hit it exactly right. I mean, you're not going to land on the beginning of Q2 going, all right, I'm exactly 100% where I thought I would be back when I made this plan in October of last year. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I think that's a good cadence or a good habit to get into of, hey, it's time to adjust. I need to tweak this. I need to dial in our aim a little bit so that we're hitting things exactly where they want to be.
yeah,
Because right now I'm looking at some of the things that we do because we're having such good success in Q1. I'm looking at some things going into Q2. I'm like, if this continues, I'm going to need to do other things. All right. I'm planning ahead for this. This is a good, evaluation point for me. I'm needing to put some things in here because things are going well. So it's, at this point though, it's given, I knew that we were going to do this, but at this point, it's giving me a little bit more clarity in how this should operate. To what extent and what does it look like a little bit more? I've got fresh data, so it's a really good spot. But we got to make sure that we're taking time for these. Don't just let the calendar roll on through, going, well, yeah, that one's Q1 is in the books. I guess we'll just see what Q2 has to offer. That's not the approach to take.
yeah. Richard's got a video out there. I'm afraid to click on it. There's no preview. I'm like, Richard, is that a Rick roll? Let me share that. But one of the things I want to remind people of, we're at the end of Q1, and you should have done all your architecture audits. And the idea of an architecture audit is you get a snapshot of what is the stack. How are your clients using your stack? How have they grown over the year? Are they on track to continue to adopt your entire stack or the stack that you recommend? And so once you get done doing that, you should remind yourself. The older members really know this feature really well. Every once in a while, somebody goes, "Oh, you have snapshotting?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Oh,
If
yes.
you go up here to the top right of any report we have,
Yep.
you can actually come down here and create a snapshot so that you can tell the client, where were you? And oops, sorry. You can come down here and say, create a snapshot, and you can tag it. Where are you? What did you get done? And who knew about it?
Mhm.
And that way, when you want to compare this against Q2 or maybe 2025, you'll have this little like, how did we grow? How did we do? Where did we want to be? Because when you snapshot, it freezes this. So any goals you set in here are now
Mhm.
set in stone. So that when you come back and you review this in a year or a quarter or whatever your cadence is, you can say, hey, here's where we plan to be and here's where we are. And you can show that growth and you
Well,
can
yeah,
compare it
and that
down
growth
here.
is a really important element. And I tell this. Many of our members, you've probably heard me tell this story, but it fits so well. Our project roadmap is a great tool, and I was working with a member at one point, and they were using just that part. Right? They had great intentions to set up the reports, but they were busy, and they thought, I'm just going to run with the roadmap, and they just kept running with it. Right? And so they were, in several months with their customer. Their customer had been spending a lot of money with them, and they're using the roadmap kind of like a to-do list. And it was okay because everyone was able to see what was going on. I mean, it was working, right? But I kind of did a check with the member, and I said, all right, so you get to the end of the year, and how much do you think they're going to spend? And it was a pretty significant amount of money. I said, okay, now you're going to go back to your customer and sit down in January and have some sort of annual review. If you bring up your scores, they're not going to change at all. You're going to have zero change in your assessments because what you're doing is just little items. You're not really identifying the gaps and closing the gaps. You may be
Yeah.
working on parts of those gaps, which we do, and that's part of the doing everything at once deal. But you haven't finished those projects, and so the gap still exists, and you have nothing to show visually for what you've been doing with your clients. And I know this is always a challenge for MSPs to show your value, and one of the ways you can do is by doing the analysis. You get those projects, you close them, you snapshot things, and then as you move forward, what Adam was talking about, that makes once you've done that for a few quarters, that makes a really,
Yeah.
really impactful graph that says, hey, this is what we've been doing. This is the progress we've been making.
Yeah. So when it comes to the end of your quarter, what progress have you made? And you work with your clients the same way, as Skip is pointing out. You work with your clients the same way. They work with you, and then everybody's going around. Then you go around to your actual MSP and you say, where are we at? Where are we going? Are we getting there? How are you adapting to Dell and Microsoft and the big vendors going direct to consumer? Do you need to make changes so that you can make up for those losses of profit? Are you adjusting your narrative to be more service based or something? Speaking of that, next quarter is service, so you need to be focusing on that. And that is how you look forward. So now, knowing what I know now, how am I going to do quarter two? Same thing with your clients. Knowing that you're here, how are you going to help your clients in quarter two? And that is what we want to show everyone. Like, what is Humanize IT doing in quarter two? We're going to be focusing on service delivery, and that's going to be huge right now, especially with hardware margins being where they are. Everyone focusing on service delivery is going to be having a great year, a great couple of years. Everyone
Yep.
focusing on hardware delivery is going to have a struggle. So, what are we changing in service delivery? We're going to be helping you understand what are your services, how are you streamlining, how are you delivering projects, how are you giving that human touch, and then I keep getting reminded by Skip and everybody. I will be putting out the software roadmap in April, like
Yep.
I did the last 2 years. Software roadmap. What features are we coming out with? We have some cool ones we're getting ready to start working on and getting rolled out here over the next couple quarters. We took a little bit of a break here in first quarter, which has been nice. And
Yep.
then now we're going to be moving forward to some really cool new features to help you guys with your service delivery. So that is how we're going to move forward. And then at the end of Q2, we'll check like, did we get what we wanted done? Q3, did we get the software implemented where we want? Do we need to change how we're delivering the software? So look forward to that in quarter two. And if you guys ever have any features that you guys want us to put onto the roadmap, if you want to upvote something, just send us an email saying, I really want this feature. I know for me personally, my big features are integration with compliance scorecard. I want to get our opportunity syncs better and try to work around some of the limitations the PSAs have to consume our data. And then Skip's got some things on his wish list as well that we want to get across, like business alignment tagging, things like that that have been on the list for a long time.
Yeah, we got some cool ideas.
We do.
We could go wild with it, but we really want to focus on what you are
Yeah.
needing right now. So again, to echo what Adam said, please let us know. We want to make sure we're focusing on the things that mean the most to you. But let me leave you guys with a quick tip. It's a really easy one. I'll probably mention it again for the next couple of weeks. Moving into Q2, all right. In our model, we're focusing on services, and so that's our service pillar, the gap analysis report that runs with that. The bigger picture, Q1 is we identify what they have. Q2, we want to focus on, okay, now we know what they have. How are they using it? Are they leveraging the features? Are they implementing it correctly? It's a lot like the best practices ideas that we run with many times. So we're getting ready to start working on that. If you haven't already, it might be a good opportunity to kind of refresh your report, or at least, look at your expectations. So here's a quick, easy one that will get you rolling. Pick 2 customers. Pick the one that your instinct, your gut tells you these guys are doing it great. All right. They're just run. I mean, we have their password, manager working perfectly. Everyone's getting logged in with multi-factor, whatever it is. All the services are just really working. And then the converse to that, the one that they have, hardware in the rack that someone unplugged a while ago and nobody's even turned it back on. Right.
Yep.
I mean, they're just not using the things that they should be. Take both of those and run them against your standard gap analysis for this, your standard service report. And that is going to highlight, it's going to at least provide the bumpers for you. All right. Are we on track with what we're looking at? Are there things that we're missing? That just doing those 2 reports, and they won't take you less than 30 minutes probably to do them both. Run through there, do those, and that will give you a lot of information to begin this Q2 cycle. If you need to make some updates or changes, that'll get you rolling really quick.
And then I wanted to make a little announcement here. I haven't had time to talk to Skip about this yet. I just got invited on March 29th to be part of a special panel. It's going to be a tabletop exercise on band backups and bandwidth, and they're doing it D&D style. So,
this is right up your alley, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think I was like top of the list for Ninja One to get into this fun little webinar. So it's going to be a great group of people from across the industry, and we're going to be playing a tabletop D&D on backup and disaster recovery. And we each have our role. We'll be rolling die, and I got to make my character, and I'll give you a hint. Adam's character is Adam the Graybeard.
Oh.
And so, we've got our roles, we've got who we are and what we bring to the table. And I just put the sign up link in comments, so you can reserve that event and attend it next Friday. I'm going to try to push really hard to make this a regular thing, and where we are going to attend and have these and like come up with great tabletop scenarios where you can gamify what's going on and where we're going. Like, hey, you're out with drinks with your buddies and you get an outage call. All right, and go.
How do you
and let people roll. We'll set DCs on okay. I'm gonna turn it off and turn it back on. Ooh, you're gonna need to roll a 15 or higher. Go ahead and get your D20 out. You happen to be an NT4 admin. Okay, you get +5. To your roll. So it's gonna be fun. I highly recommend if you guys need a Friday at noon, just end of the week, end of the month, the next month. That'll be a great one for you guys to attend. It should be a good time, and I put the link in the comments. I'll be putting it on our LinkedIn next week, so you'll see it kind of reminders come up. But that'll be a great bookend to Q1 for everyone. So
if you haven't done these sort of exercises before, I would highly encourage you to participate, at least watch. Here's the cool part about it. They think, I don't know what it is about IT people, but a lot of us really like these.
yeah.
I remember I went through one, I was in the corporate world, and ours was kind of serious because it involved an H2S leak, which is incredibly poisonous gas. And in our scenario, there was literally thousands of lives at risk. All right. And so it's kind of serious, but I'm over in the corner just grinning ear to ear because it was so much fun planning all this out. But here's the really important part. You're going to learn a ton. The takeaways from these are incredible about how you need to plan and structure, and it makes you run a better shop. Just hands down,
Tabletops
you
are
run a
fantastic,
better shop
people.
from. Yeah.
You know, I should come up with a D&D guide, you know, maybe like tabletops for tabletops. You know, scenario 1, your client is using DLT backups. They just got hit by a crypto locker. What do you do?
Oh, go cry.
Hey, DLT was okay.
Yeah. Spinning tape just never made me feel good.
I still am a fan of LTO. What was it? Which one was I on? 4 when I left. I still am a fan. I still think there's a place for it. So it's fast.
Too many horror stories. Makes me nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, thank you everyone for attending this week. This has been great. Looking forward to next week, ending this quarter on a high point. I'm hoping next week we'll spend a little bit more time talking about our software rollout, what to expect from us, what are some of the great features coming up, and getting that published on our website. So we'll talk to you all later.
See ya.